We are conditioned to believe that extreme violence requires extreme pathology. When we examine the most massive scales of human atrocity, we expect to find monsters at the controls. But the historical reality is far more unsettling. The greatest horrors are almost entirely driven by functional, ordinary members of society operating within routine systems. On March 16, 1968, American soldiers entered the Vietnamese village of My Lai and massacred over 500 unarmed women, children, and elderly men. It was a staggering act of collective, systemic violence. Yet the man who ordered the executions, Lieutenant William Calley, exhibited no signs of profound psychopathy. He appeared to be exactly what he was, an entirely standard, bureaucratically functioning military officer. Labeling perpetrators like Calley as monsters is a societal defense mechanism. It distances us from the act, but it prevents us from understanding how extreme violence actually functions in the real world. Atrocity is a problem of bureaucratic and social engineering. To understand systemic atrocity, we have to stop searching for psychological deviations. Instead, we must examine the exact processes used to systematically dismantle normal human restraint. The Stanford psychologist Albert Bandura defined moral agency as an active, internal, self-regulatory mechanism. We constantly monitor our own behavior against our internal standards. When we consider actions that violate those standards, we experience anticipatory guilt and self-condemnation. Bandura called these self-sanctions, and they act as the psychological friction that stops us from engaging in inhumane conduct. This self-regulatory system starts with internal standards, self-monitoring, and produces conduct aligning with your values. As long as this pathway is unbroken, moral control holds. But these mechanisms don't operate automatically. Extreme inhumanity requires the systematic, selective disengagement of these internal sanctions. We can map the exact cognitive maneuvers used to hack this system. By looking at how physical spaces and time are weaponized, we can pinpoint exactly what triggers these short circuits. Extreme violence is the result of a highly engineered socio-cognitive machine operating exactly as it was designed to. The first point of intervention in Bandura's model is cognitive restructuring. This process directly alters the perpetrator's perception of the conduct itself. The most powerful form of this is moral justification. Harmful conduct is made personally acceptable by framing it as a strict social imperative or a righteous mission. A parallel tactic is advantageous comparison. Here, a reprehensible act is made to look benevolent simply by weighing it against a vastly worse, often entirely hypothetical, threat from an adversary. Then there is euphemistic labeling, a linguistic tool used to strip the physical reality from an action. In modern statecraft and corporate structures, bombing missions become servicing the target. Firing an employee transforms into a career alternative enhancement. During the Watergate conspiracy, perpetrators co-opted the jargon of legitimate enterprise. Criminal conspiracy was branded a game plan, and conspirators were team players. This kind of sanitization protects the individual from visualizing the actual harm they are causing by wrapping the damage in innocent parlance. Language physically alters the perpetrator's cognitive perception, short-circuiting their self-censure and turning a condemnable act into a source of professional pride. The next node is obscuring agency. If we do not feel we are the true author of an act, our internal self-censure fails to activate entirely. French philosopher Michel Foucault observed that power and subjectivity are meticulously engineered through the physical organization of space. The ultimate expression of this is the panopticon. The architectural design strictly segregates individuals into isolated cells while establishing a centralized, obscured point of observation. Modern bureaucratic and military structures apply this exact spatial segregation to divide labor. They physically distance the decision-maker from the executioner, placing them in entirely different rooms or continents. Consider a prison guard assisting in lethal gas executions. If his physical task is restricted solely to strapping the convict's legs to the chair, the spatial and functional division allows him to convince himself he is not the executioner. This chart demonstrates Bandura's empirical data proving the effectiveness of this separation. Individuals act far more punitively when responsibility is diffused collectively across a group than when they are held personally accountable. Authorities leverage this spatial diffusion to issue commands through indirection. They structure their environment to remain intentionally uninformed of the operational details, shielding themselves from the resulting harm. This foggy non-responsibility is a deliberate spatial achievement, engineered to insulate individuals from the consequences of their own actions. The third node disrupts how the victim is perceived, disregarding consequences and dehumanization. Bandura found that obedience to violent commands drops sharply as the victim's pain becomes more visible and personalized to the aggressor. Historically, the state capitalized on this distance through public executions. The condemned individual was stripped of autonomy and physically elevated on a scaffold, transforming them from a person into a spectacle for a detached, consuming crowd. The extreme endpoint of this materialization was seen in early clinical anatomies and the practice of corpse medicine. The human subject was literally reduced to raw materials and consumable objects, entirely divested of personhood. This chart maps what happens when you combine these mechanisms. When a victim is divested of human qualities and the responsibility for harming them is shared among a group, the administration of punitive shocks spikes exponentially. It is a catastrophic multiplier effect. Perceiving another person in terms of common humanity biologically activates empathetic emotional reactions. Those reactions act as a physical brake on violent behavior. But when the victim is conceptually reconstructed as subhuman material or reduced to a mere operational metric on a spreadsheet, those empathetic brakes are completely destroyed. The final component required to lock this system into place is time. Time allows temporary cognitive hacks to solidify into permanent behavioral defaults. Sociologist Norbert Elias described this through the concept of the habitus, the deeply ingrained habits, skills, and dispositions we develop as a result of our life experiences. Elias mapped a figurational flow, showing how a society's thresholds of repugnance and what it accepts as legitimate violence shift gradually across multiple generations. On an individual level, this gradualistic moral disengagement works through small, consistently escalating enactments of harm. Data on political radicalization confirms this. Violent extremists rarely undergo sudden ideological transformations. They evolve gradually, pushed forward by a long series of escalating, hostile confrontations. Each repeated act of aggression grinds away another layer of self-reproof. Eventually, psychological friction disappears entirely, and inhumane practices are thoughtlessly routinized. Time provides the necessary structural reinforcement. It fossilizes temporary moral disengagement into unshakable institutional culture. When we pull these frameworks together, Bandura's flowchart maps onto the macro-sociological forces of space and time. The environmental structures are the literal activators. As spatial isolation and temporal repetition increase, the cognitive mechanisms of disengagement are given the exact conditions they need to fire. This systemic machine was laid bare and judged during the Nuremberg trials following World War II. The infamous just following orders defense at Nuremberg represents a fully realized moral disengagement matrix. This same matrix allows modern international networks of otherwise upstanding, legitimate professionals to coordinate the trade of weaponry and human destruction, remaining entirely insulated from personal guilt. Atrocity is the highly predictable, reliable output of a perfectly tuned socio-cognitive system. Yet this engineered system can be overridden. During the My Lai massacre, an American helicopter pilot named Hugh Thompson Jr. landed his aircraft between his fellow soldiers and the fleeing villagers, halting the executions. Thompson noted later that he looked at a terrified child and realized the boy was the same age as his own son at home. That immediate recognition of common humanity biologically short-circuited the military's spatial and cognitive dehumanization. He reclaimed his moral agency. We have moved away from the overt brutality of the historical public scaffold, replacing it with the sterile, compartmentalized brutality of the modern organizational chart. But the underlying mechanics of disengagement remain identical. Systemic violence relies on a vast, decentralized network of ordinary people, each dutifully managing their fraction of the process in a morally disengaged way. Securing civilized life requires the intentional design of systemic, structural safeguards, specifically engineered to break the mechanics of moral disengagement before they can take hold.